Great, okay, welcome back. Okay, so on this little video we're going to go through your strengthening exercises, especially focused around knee health and knee strength. Okay, so once you've just had a little bit of a warm-up for the knees, it's good just to do a little bit of a warm-up for the knees to make sure that they are comfortable before doing these exercises. So what we're going to do is, for the warm-up, we're just going to do some knee circles. Okay, so we're just going to squat down slightly so your hands are on the knees, and we're just going to make some circles here. Okay, and what this does is just allows the synovial fluid in the knees just to warm up a little bit. Okay, and this just really helps us prepare for the exercises that we're about to do. Okay, so we're just going to go for about 10-15 circles around each way. Okay, try not to let the knees drop in together, but at the same time we're just going round in those circles in that position. Try and straighten the legs round at the top and then bend them forwards, and we're trying to get those knees over the ends of the toes in that position there as well. Okay, and that's just a great way, and we might just do 10-15 repetitions in each direction a couple of times just to get those knees nice and warm and ready to go for the exercises. Okay, so the first exercise we're going to do is kind of really concentrate on the VMO. So this is the inside of the quad muscle group. Here is incredibly important whilst we're running and doing any sort of functional exercise. It keeps everything tracking in the right position. We can do this by loading the exercise, but also we can do it in a body weight fashion as well. And we're going to go for a step. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to stand on the working leg, okay, and the front leg here is going to be out in front of you, okay, and you're going to point the heel out, so you're going to lift the toes up so that you're not tempted to push down and touch the ground with your toes. Okay, and now what you're going to do is you're going to squat until that knee touches the ground, and then you're going to come back up. Okay, so you're just squatting there and then coming back up, and this really helps with the alignment and also concentrating on that VMO muscle group as we drive down into that position. Okay, now to make that harder, obviously we could hold some weights to increase the intensity. We want to be going for around about 10-12 repetitions, really nice and slow and formatted, okay, so that we're really looking at your good form. Now if you're struggling with that one, we can just hold on to something, okay, move into that step position and then just drive forward and then come back up, and with that, just that little bit of support, that can really help. If it's something a little bit lower, we can just offload the weight slightly to start making sure that you're doing the movement pattern correctly and you're doing the exercise correctly. Okay, so I'll show you again on the other side. We're going to be standing on the working leg. Okay, the front leg is going to come out in front of you. The angle of that front leg can make it a little bit more difficult, so if you lift it up a little bit higher, it takes more effort and bigger range of motion to be able to get it down to the ground. Okay, if it's a little bit lower, we can do the same, and we're trying to keep the toes up, so we drop the heel down to the ground and then move back up in that position here. And it's really, you might find it a bit uncomfortable to begin with because that balance and control, but also it really signifies down through the patella tendon and the knee structures to start repairing and getting strong. And sometimes we have to start to delve down in there and sort of break it up and start working at it to be able to get the body to repair itself, to get it stronger. Okay, so I wanted to start off with that exercise for me. Okay, the next one is going to be the lunge, or the here. Now we're going to do this one slightly differently. So we're going to go for a really big knee over toe lunge here. Okay, so what I wanted to do is set yourself back into this position. Okay, what we're going to do is you're going to start to move forward into the lunge, driving the knee over the end of the toe until we're in this position. The back leg I want to maintain straight. You can come up onto the toes slightly, okay, but if you can keep the heel down to the ground, that is better for flexibility and mobility. And then we're going to come back up. So it's not a normal standard lunge where we're going straight down and coming back up. We are really driving forward into that position and then moving our way back up. Now if you're struggling to begin with on this one, what we can do is we can elevate the foot up so it's a little bit higher. Okay, and with that little bit of foot higher, okay, you probably want something a little bit more balanced than this. Okay, we can just drop down into that stretch and then come back up, and that'll be easier. So the higher the foot is on that front leg, so you could use a step or a chair to be able to get that foot up even higher to be able to drop down into this one. Also, what we can do is just use something in front of us to be able to use to then move back up. Okay, so we can just have a little bit of support by using a wall or a chair in front of us to be able to grab hold of to be able to go through. Ideally though, we want to be getting into the position where we're into here, okay, into that lunge position, and we're driving forward and we're getting that hip down nice and low with that knee over the end of the toe, back leg here. And this is a fantastic way of strengthening up through the hip flexors. Hip flexors are so important for our knee health because of the way that they are moving and functioning. Every time we're driving the knee up in a running step or a functional power movement, then we're using these muscle groups, and if they're not mobile and strong enough, then other muscle groups then have to come into play and we knock our biomechanics off. So this is a really, really powerful exercise, which I've found personally one of the beneficial exercises which has really helped me keep my knee health and also recover from patellar tendonitis and ITB syndrome and all those sorts of things. It's really been an exercise that has massively helped in that format. Okay, so that's a really big one to try and work out on and focus on the technique and the movement pattern of that particular exercise. Step it back a little bit to begin with to make sure that you're doing it correctly. So use a wall or use a chair to be able to sink down into that position, okay? And ideally we're getting down nice and low with that back leg straight and the knee is right over the end of the toe, and we'll want to get down into that position to then move back up, okay? And whatever means you need to be able to hold on to a couple of chairs to be able to get down into that position, start off like that. Okay, next exercise is going to be the glute bridge, okay? Fundamental exercise here. We're going to be working very powerfully on the eccentric though, so the way down phase, so slightly different. I want you to work here. Everyone's probably done a glute bridge before, so you know what I'm talking about. We're going to be lying on the back, ideally arms across the top of the chest, but you can have the arms down by the side of you, and we're going to push the hips up into that extension. We're going to squeeze the glutes, okay, to be able to do that and elevate up, okay, and we're trying to go up nice and high whilst keeping a nice straight position, okay. But today what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the eccentric contraction. So the glutes have to work on the way down phase. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze my glutes all the way down to that, and then I'm going to come back up. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm teaching the glutes that they need to work under that lowering phase as well as the upward phase. Most people will forget to do this and make the exercise just a concentric contraction, which just means they're working on the way up and not on the way down. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 1 second on the way up and then 4 to 5 seconds nice and slow on the way down, squeezing those glutes incredibly hard on that way down phase. What we're going to do here is just try and do 10 to 12 repetitions, or at least a burnout. So what I mean to that is that you're going to the point where you're really feeling the muscles work and you can't keep on going, okay? And that's sort of like working to that fatigue with that body weight with those glute exercises can be incredibly beneficial because we start to gain an increased amount of strength, okay? So that's going to be your fourth exercise, well, onto there, okay? Third exercise, we're moving into our fourth exercise, sorry about that. On this next one, we're going to be looking at the RDLs. So this is a balancing technique and a strengthening technique to work the hamstrings. Again, hamstrings are incredibly important with knee health. When we find that people pull their hamstring, or you've got a hamstring inflexibility or injury, which is causing a weakness there, then anterior knee pain is to follow, okay? So it really does transfer. We end up working the front of the knees because the biomechanics are wrong, and if our calves or our hamstrings aren't strong enough, then we end up getting front of knee pain around onto the knees here. So building up strength and mobility through the hamstrings massively increase our bulletproofness of our knees and also our functionality to be able to keep on going for longer. So here we're going to go for the RDL. Here, what we're going to do for the RDL is going to stand on one leg. We're going to have the hands behind you like the good mornings, where we've just got the hands into that position. We're going to keep the back nice and straight, and we're going to bow forwards, okay, working that hamstring strength, and then we're going to move back up into that glute squeeze at the top of that range of motion, and then we're going to go back down into there, okay. Now, to regress that exercise a little bit, if you are struggling with your balance, then what you're going to do is you're going to place the foot just behind you on the floor, so we've got a little bit of guidance, okay, and it just keeps us a little bit more stable. So we're going to have the hands on the back, and we're going to go through exactly the same motion, and that just makes it a little bit more easy to be able to complete the exercise in good form. Okay, now I'm trying to keep my leg a little bent, okay, it's not completely locked out, it's just a soft bend in that knee, and then I'm straightening and pushing the hips forwards. It's what we call a hip hinge. So what we're trying to do is drive the hips backwards on the way down, and then drive the hips forwards on the way back up by squeezing the glute, okay? So it's not just coming down and going back up, it's really pushing the hips backwards to feel that tension through the back of the leg, to move those hips forwards in that position. And you're going to do 10-12 repetitions on each leg on that one as well. If you've got a little bit more time, then we can talk about doing a couple of circuits of these exercises. To make that more difficult, then obviously we just load the weight, or we can just load the weight with a dumbbell out in front of us, okay, increasing the tension and that range of motion. But I would definitely recommend just starting off with a body weight version of that to be able to get those balance, control and the technique correct before starting to load this exercise up. Okay, so those are the RDLs. Then we're going to go into the last exercise, which is just a wall sit. Now, research has shown that this is a brilliant exercise to increase the tension and also the strength of your patellar tendon, okay, in a non-impact way. So what we're going to do is the basic wall sit, okay, so we're going to have our hands by the side of us. We're going to get into a 90-degree position against the wall. You're going to push your shoulders and your head back, so we're keeping nice and straight, and we're going to activate those quads, and we're just going to try and hold there up to about 60 seconds would be absolutely amazing. If you can only do 10-15 seconds, then that's brilliant. Just trying to work it up every time you do this session. Maybe just try and do 5 or 6 seconds longer to build the tension there. And because we're signifying the quads are working, that really drives in to get the patellas stronger without having to do a lot of impact work, which we can do, but to begin with we can start doing very non-impactful work to be able to get those tendons really strong down through the patellar tendon. Great stuff. Okay, so those are your 5 exercises I want you to do for your knee health, strength and mobility work. Okay, great stuff. Have fun with them. Let me know how you get on. Take care, and we'll speak soon.